Hello everyone, this is IcyReviewYear and we're here with Banished. This game got a ton of hype. It's from Shining Rock Software, which if I remember correctly is like one person who just kind of left the gaming industry to set out on his own, start making indie games. And I have to say, from that view, you know, this is one person, it's phenomenal. Like, I mean, was a very ambitious project, and I think it did what it set out to do very well. First things first, we're just going to go through, take a look at the options menu. You notice my windows here are huge. I've changed the user interface scaling. This is the default. Let's just apply that. But I've kicked it up to the 75, or I guess down to 75, for the purpose of this review video, just so everything's easier to read. When I'm normally playing, I would have it smaller, I don't know, about 150-ish, just to give myself more screen real estate. But on the video, people, you know, if anyone's viewing on mobile or not viewing full screen, I understand it can be very hard to see. A lot of stuff here. Clip mouse to the window, actually should turn that on. But we have things like show weather effects, which can be, I'm so glad this option's here. We're going to leave it on for now. While I'm playing, I turned it off, just because the weather effects, though they're nice looking, can get very frustrating. Excuse me. My only complaint when it comes to the options, I mean, I love the fact that I can separate all the volumes out individually. Really nice. Got, you know, all my interface stuff here, which honestly I don't really use that much of. Mainly just by mouse. Things are a lot easier. All the standard video settings you'd expect. Actually have not tried this kicked up to DirectX 11. Okay, so we're going to try that. My only small complaint here is that there is no windowed borderless mode, which is just kind of a complaint. Like, I just don't really like playing anything in true full screen. I do use dual monitors, and it does make recording a lot more difficult to do when you only have full screen. The windowed modes are nice, but you know, there are mods out there that you can pop in, and it'll fix that problem right up. So it's not a big deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a new world and just show some basic things here. Icyopolis. And I've played around with this game a decent bit. You've got some good starting options. Valleys or mountains. Mountains are going to make things harder. Your terrain size, the climate. You know, you can go between an easy, medium, or hard game, essentially. Turning disasters on or off. And then the starting conditions. On medium, which is the default, you start with 5 families, clothing, food, fire, you know, a bunch of stuff to get you started. On easy, you get 6 families, you get a large amount of everything. You got homes and storage units, you got seeds, an orchard, and a herd of livestock. On hard mode, this is like set off, you're probably going to die. 4 families, small amount of clothing, food, firewood, and tools, no seeds for farming. So we're just going to do a medium game here real quick. And my initial impressions of this game, I came into this game kind of blind. There'd been a lot of talk about it, most of which I hadn't paid attention to, quite honestly. And I believe that doing so has given me a much better experience with this game than some. Because a lot of people see this game and immediately think city builder. And to an extent, yeah, on the surface, yes, that's what it is. I mean, we are building a city. We can, you know, place our houses here. I'm just flipping through. There's different house styles. These don't make any difference other than just purely in the looks of them. So some cool, like, thematic options here. We're going to start out by placing down, let's say, 4 houses. I think I have 4 families, maybe 5. We might need to place another house. But honestly, it's less of a city builder and more of a, like, survival simulator. And that is the big thing I found. Basically, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed with this game because they're going to go into it with their expectations wrong and expect some kind of like SimCity, Anno-esque, you know, city builder game where you're the omnipotent, you know, watcher of this city, and, you know, things will eventually get to a point where they can almost run themselves. And that's not what this game is. This game is a system, you know, you're struggling to survive. There's a lot of micromanagement, which some people will like, some people won't. I'll give my personal opinions on that here in a little bit when we get into, you know, more details about what the micromanagement is. One interesting thing, and this is just a little thing that confused me, is when you start the game, the UI is so minimalistic. I mean, you definitely want this up, which is your general statistics. Because, I mean, this is going to show your time, your citizens, the weather, and a basic amount of, these are the stocks you have, along with the average health and average happiness of your citizens. You definitely want that up. You definitely want your event log up. And I appreciate the ability to minimize them. I just find it a very odd decision to not have them up by default. I mean, small thing, but still baffles me. Because they're things you're going to want. And then the other thing I almost always have up is the professions window here. This is where I'd say the UI can get a little cluttered when you have everything you need up. And this is honestly where you're going to spend a lot of your time in the game. You can pause quickly. You can skip through different speeds. For now, we're just going to go to one-time speed while I talk about this. Currently, all my citizens are homeless. You can see this little icon above their head. And this game's all about managing the needs and wants of your citizens, and so much micromanagement. So we've set up these houses. They each have the things they need. No trees need to remove, but they need logs, stone, and they need to be built. We've got our stockpile, which has all these things, and then we have our storage barn, which has our perishables and our tools and coats and such not. Basically, big raw materials go in the stockpile, finished goods go in the storage barn, and food. So what we need to do is we need to assign some builders here. So we can just click up, and we can go ahead and actually assign 8 builders, because we can have up to 2 in each house, but we're going to just kick it down to 6. And at the same time that we have these guys building, we're going to go ahead and remove some resources from this area. So we're going to be expanding our town out here eventually. Might as well just go ahead and set those to chop down. They're going to chop down the trees. They're going to take out some rocks. I'm not sure. There might be some iron hidden throughout here. But they're just going to take out the resources there. Now, the game at default is fairly slow moving. And that pace, honestly, can make for a very relaxing game. I've played a lot at this pace while watching a movie on Netflix or something. Which is kind of an odd statement. I'm not sure how I feel about a game that I pretty much only play while watching a movie. Now, to be fair, I can kind of say the same about Dwarf Fortress. I often play Dwarf Fortress while watching a movie. And in some ways, this game can kind of be considered like Dwarf Fortress Light. In some ways. I'm actually going to kick down the number of builders. And basically, if someone doesn't have a job assigned, they're a laborer. And they're just going to go out and do their labory things. This is a child, so they don't have any jobs. But we can go ahead and kick and look at our laborers here. Apparently the children are all assigned as laborers. Okay, so we can just kind of watch this guy do his thing. Geralda is working. Clothing, fair, happiness. You can see, everything about it. The educated, I honestly have no clue what it means. I know how to educate people. You can eventually build a schoolyard. But going through the tutorials, they didn't explain the benefits of education at all. And so now we've got some houses built. I do believe we're going to need another house. And this is a game where things can kind of fall apart pretty quickly. In that way, it's similar to Dwarf Fortress in that you can invest a lot of time in a fortress, or in this case a town, and then things just fall apart. And some people are going to like that, some are going to absolutely hate it. But beyond the houses, we are also going to desperately need a food source. So this is a fishing hut. Let's go ahead and just spin this around so I can see. We can connect it right in there. And someone's eventually going to get around to doing it. One thing I really do like, and let's go ahead and show this off while we have the opportunity. So if we go to our tools and reports, this button here is one of the coolest buttons. Increase priority. It's weird because it looks like it doesn't work. Like it just shows it as red. But by dragging out over something that isn't built, we've now increased the priority on this, so they're going to get to building the fishing dock faster. They're going to ignore the houses, until the fishing dock's built. Not a big deal now since we have enough builders for them to work on all 3 at once, but can be of really, and I actually got part of the road there too, can be really significant. Like let's say I had 3 builders, or 2 builders total, and I was trying to build 5 different things, but I wanted this one to be built first. And so that's really cool. I really like that option. Let's see. Other than that, there is a lot, as I said, there's a lot of micromanagement in this game. You're going to be bouncing between, you know, okay, well, I don't need a blacksmith right now because I have enough tools, so let's put him into woodcutting. You know, there's a lot of that, you know, just reassigning what people are doing. Now, I actually probably should not have increased the priority on that because I want this to be done, and it's almost done. So let's just increase the priority there. They'll finish that up real quick, and we'll have another house. And I think we're going to need 5 total. The houses themselves, and this isn't well explained in the tutorial, and I think it's really cool. The tutorial was decent. There's a lot of reading, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, do this, then do this, then do this, and then it explains why. And you're only able to do the things it says to do. Basically, if you don't actually read it, you're just going to do the things and not understand what you're doing. Which, I mean, is always a... I mean, there's always a risk of that. It's just, you know, it's pretty reading intensive. It's easy to just kind of zone out through it, which really does hurt you. Let's see, we're just kind of waiting a little bit. What we're going to go ahead and do is kick up the simulation speed. We're running low on stone. They should be bringing more stone back here soon, though, and we can cut down the number of builders to 2, because they're going to finish this up. As you can see here, we can have 2 of our 2 possible builders are working on this building. We can cut that down to only 1 being allowed to work on it, but it's no more than 2. This one shows the total number of workers in that profession. We have 2 builders across the whole village, and these buttons come into hand basically once it's built. So we're going to kick up the speed. I wouldn't recommend playing on 10 times speed, at least not your first, you know, couple times through. But now that we have the fishing hut done, we can go ahead and assign a couple fishermen, and we can do it through the interface for the building they need to work at, or through a profession window here. So we've assigned 2 fishermen here. I really like this, the food limits. Basically, all production buildings have limits, and they'll keep working until they hit that limit. For food buildings, I've never really had any use for that, because I've never had a time when I've been like, no, I don't want more food. But for things like, actually, I should probably go ahead and build one of these. For things like, I still am not good at remembering where everything is. There we go, a wood chopper. Where the wood chopper's only job, and the only thing they can do, is make firewood, which you need in winter. It's really good to set a limit on that, or suddenly you're going to look at me like, oh, every one of my logs has been turned into firewood. And firewood's good to have, don't get me wrong. It keeps people warm and keeps them from dying. But, you know, it's nice to have wood for other things. As you can see, my reserve of firewood is low. I have 0, and the people in this house are cold. So that is a problem I have to take care of. Through here, you can actually look at the inventory in individual houses, which is neat, but honestly not terribly useful, because I have not found any way to assign them to be like, hey, give that firewood to the neighbor who is freezing to death. They're like, nah, this is my firewood, I'm gonna keep it. So, one thing about this game is there are no tech trees. Basically, from the very beginning, you can build anything. You know, I could build, let's see, this giant stone chapel as my very first building. Some people are going to like that, some people are going to hate it. The thing it does do is it lets you kind of play around with different build orders, if you will. So you can be like, okay, well, I want to try building more of this first. It's... The thing it does do is it makes it feel like there's no... For me, at least, it made the game somewhat monotonous. Just because from the very beginning, I can do anything I want to do. And that means I can just build up my village. There's nothing I feel like I'm working towards, if you will, except more of the same. And as I said, some people are really going to enjoy this game. Some people are not going to like it. And I know I keep saying that, but like, I enjoy the game. I don't see it as a game I'm going to be playing a lot of. And I mean that simply because there's just doesn't feel like there's that much substance here. It is fun. It is a neat little game, but I kind of just view it as Dwarf Fortress Lite with better graphics. For me, personally, I'd rather go play Dwarf Fortress. There's more depth to it. There's more everything to it. I mean, the only thing is the graphics aren't as nice. In Dwarf Fortress, yes, there aren't tech trees in Dwarf Fortress, but there's so many more options that there's always something to work towards. Yes, in Dwarf Fortress, there's never a moment where you're like, okay, well, I can't build a tannery until I research this. But there is the concept of, well, a tannery's fairly useless unless I build a butchery or a butcher's shop. And I don't want to build a butcher's shop until I have a decent pasture going or have good hunters. Now, you can do these out of order, but they're not going to benefit you. And that's much what I find in this game, with the exception that there's less to do. I mean, if we look through the building options, there's wooden houses. You can upgrade those to stone houses. So basically, they're warmer. You don't have to use as much firewood. You can also build a boarding house, which is absurdly big. And this is to house the homeless temporarily until they have another house. You can build roads. You can build stone roads. You can build bridges, and you can build tunnels. Okay, you can build a storage barn, which is this. Stockpiles, which you actually don't build. It's just like a stockpile in Dwarf Fortress. Like, boom, put stuff there. You can build a market, which is basically everyone comes here to pick stuff up. And you can build a trading post. And this goes on the water and unlocks trading, which I'm actually going to do because I do want to talk about trading. So let's just find a spot where this will fit. We'll move over this way a little bit. It can be a little tricky. Like, this is kind of why if you build in the mountains, I think it's going to be a lot trickier for you because it's going to be harder to place things. So let's build that there. It's going to take a while to build, but that's fine. We'll just let that go while we talk. Wells, all they do is they'll get you water to help put out fires. And so far, the only disasters I've seen are like disease outbreaks and fires. That's it. I could be wrong. There could be more, but that's all I've seen. The schoolhouse, when I was talking earlier about education, if we look at any one individual, we can see educated. Yes, that one's educated. If we look, we've had a couple children born. Let's see if we can find Wilhelma. Take a look at them. Educated? No. So the citizens you start with start educated. The citizens that are born, unless you have a schoolhouse, are not educated. Now, once you build a schoolhouse, you assign one person to be a teacher, and children just become students, and that's what this is: adults, students, children. I have yet to be able to understand what decides whether or not a child becomes a student. It seems random to me. I also have not found any explanation of what being educated does. I assume it helps with happiness and maybe makes them better at working, but I've yet to find anything explaining one way or the other. The town hall is an interesting building because it's a fairly large investment. We're not going to build it. I'll show you in my other world what it does, but it unlocks information about your town. Basically, you can get more specific information about inventory, things like that. Whereas opposed to here, where it's like, here's the amount of food we have, with a town hall, it's like, here's the number of vegetables, or here's the number of apples, here's the number of venison, etc. The chapel provides religion and makes people happier. The cemetery prevents citizens from becoming sad when elders die. And that's just simply, you drag it out. Food production, you have crop fields, and the crops are actually really cool. I'm going to show off how a lot of these work in my other save because it's more established. Orchards are somewhat like the crop trees, but they that you harvest them and then they grow back. The interesting thing about orchards is the trees themselves take a while to grow before they'll provide fruit. And then once they grow, you don't have to regrow the trees. They'll provide a harvest every year. Pastures, exactly what they sound like. Fishing dock, we have one of those. It provides fish. Hunting cabin, same deal. You kind of stick it out. It says in the tutorials, it said you would either want a large wooded area or a large flat area, which describes almost everywhere you could place this. I mean, I guess it's saying, don't put it nestled in so the circle is almost entirely around mountains. Like, I guess this would be a bad spot. But anywhere else is good. I guess no water. But I mean, you've got deer there. The deer kind of, I think they give a clue as to where is a good place to put them. but that'll give you leather and food, so good to have. And the Gatherer's Hut. Basically, this is a very early game way to do it. I'm going to try to look for some. You can see these little nodes on the ground for gatherers. Like, there's some mushrooms. And the more of those that are in the area within the circle, the better. So if we smack this here, they'll eventually build that, and they'll just start gathering food there. Beyond that, we have the wood chopper, and it's used to do firewood. That's it. Forester's Lodge. This one's pretty cool in that it makes wood renewable. If I go out and I'm just like, hey, chop down all these trees, I don't have wood anymore once I use it. The Forester, basically you assign people to be foresters, and they will chop down trees and replant them. The Herbalist, they gather herbs and they can provide health and healing for citizens. So it's that simple. They keep your health up and they'll collect herbs. I believe you have to have someone running the Herbalist at all times. Actually, let me go ahead and switch over to my other save so I can explain some of these things a little better. And this is, I believe this is my newest one. Yeah, we'll go ahead and say yes, ditch that other world. I believe you have to have someone in the Herbalist Hut at all times, even if the limit is reached. So like if you look here, my Herbalist is here. I have herb limit of 100. I have 103 herbs, so I don't have anyone working here. But my health has gone down a little bit. If I put someone in there to work, I believe then they're going to start using, yeah, they'll start using the herbs. So there's no point with these gathering ones, as far as I can tell, to have an herb limit. Because, I mean, why would you not collect more? And this town is on the edge of ruin. I overexpanded like crazy, and I'll talk about that in a second. It's a really cool mechanic. But I mean, why would I not want to collect herbs at all times if I have to have someone working there for the building to function? And that's where a lot, like, that whole concept is where a lot of the micromanagement comes in. And that, you know, I want someone to do wood cutting, and they'll hit the fuel limit, and they'll stop working, and they'll just hang out. I'd like to have the option to be like, hey, do this, and when that's done, do this. And Dwarf Fortress does that well in the job descriptions. You know, hey, this guy can do this or this, and he'll do this until he's done, then he'll go do that. And it's really nice. But let's talk about the Town Hall real quick, since I'm in the save that has it. The Town Hall gives you access to this screen, and it provides the profession menu here, and the status menu, sort of. And this was a slight frustration in that I was like, okay, cool, the Town Hall's here. I can get rid of this window and I can get rid of the profession window. But not really, because here I get, you know, most of the statistics, I don't get the weather and temperature, which managing temperature is a big deal. So that's a little frustrating. It's just, if I had just put that temperature on there, I'd be fine. I could close this and I'd be happy. But no, I can't see the temperature through this. I can look at my production. I can set all my limits on everything right here. So I can see, you know, I've got a ton of food, how many I used in a year, how many I produced in a year. I'm in a bad spot, basically. We can look at this in, you know, a greater stance and everything. And this is where I was talking about the inventory. Here I can see the exact amount. So instead of seeing I have almost 1,500 food, I can be like, okay, well, I have 14 onions, and I have 150 peppers, and I have 160 venison. And this kind of lets me get a feel for where most of my food is. I found this very important because my orchards are producing apples, which my brewer over here is using to make into apple ale. Now, if apples are my primary source of food, you know, from here, I can't tell that. From here, I can be like, okay, I have a ton of apples, but almost no other food. I shouldn't be making ale right now. We have graphs here. Just lets you get kind of fine-tuned statistics. Nomads, which are people who want to join your troop, and then just a little chart of this is what you have trade item-wise. Talking about trade real quick, I don't have anyone in here, but basically I can request any item I have to be sent over there. So I can be like, okay, well, I want a crash. I'll be right back. And we're back. I apologize for that. But I could say, you know, hey, I want another crash. And we're back again. So that's never good during a review video. So we'll just, I'll just explain this without clicking anything. I could say, hey, let's bring a bunch of ale over here, and they'll bring it. Now I need to have someone working in here. which is another frustration in that it's a lot of micromanagement. You know, there's no one here to trade. I don't need no one working here. Get them out so they can do something else. But then when people come in, they'll share their goods. And in my experience, people have very few goods and they're very expensive, and you can trade with them. You can also set up auto purchasing. So you can be like, okay, well, if anyone has this, go ahead and buy it with what I have there. And when someone's here, you can ask them to bring other things. Much like in Dwarf Fortress, if you say, hey, I really want this, there's a chance they'll bring it, and it'll be more expensive because they know you'll pay for it. Basically, that's kind of the basics of it. We're going to go to the rest of these buildings. We went through these. I was talking about the herbalist, I think, when we switched. The blacksmith creates tools. And in their tool menu, they have two choices: iron tools or steel tools. The tailor makes clothes to keep people warm. You have 3 options based on what resources you have. The brewer, or the tavern, brews alcohol and makes citizens happy. Now, this works in the same way as the herbalist, in that you have to have someone here to make people happy by it existing. But, yeah. I think. I haven't had that explained anywhere. But it seems like, you know, they're never drinking the ale when I don't have someone working there. Mines are interesting in that, kind of frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. You can put a bunch of people in there. So, oh, wrong one. You can put a bunch of people in there, and they're just gonna mine up the thing you tell them to, iron or coal. So to actually produce steel tools consistently, you kind of need 2 mines, which I don't have the citizens to support, so I just switch between the 2. And quarries are huge, and they do the same thing. They give you stone, so renewable stone. The thing about quarries is they will eventually run out, same with mines, and you can't remove them. So they're there forever. They're just going to dot up your landscape and look terrible, but that's understandable. And then here we can remove structures, we can remove resources, so, you know, if we want all of that gone, or let's say we just wanted the trees in this area, leave the rocks. Same with stone, iron, remove roads, cancel the removal. So you can be like, okay, never mind, I changed my mind. And that is everything you have to build in this game. My issue with it is with the few amount of things you have to build. I personally would have expected more multi-purpose things. I feel like the game, for me, and some people are going to really enjoy how this works, the game, because of the limited amount of options you have and the lack of any tech tree, it becomes more of the same over and over very quickly. As I said, I've enjoyed my time with the game, and this is why I turn off weather effects personally. They are nice looking, but I personally find them very distracting. There we go. During gameplay. And yeah, you can tell from here what the current weather is just by paying attention. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it. I enjoy the game. It's not something I'm going to play long term. I can guarantee that. And that's because the options run out very quickly. I guess we can talk about farming real quick. Farming's pretty cool. You lay down a field. You choose of the seeds you have, which you want to plant. You can harvest early. Like, as they grow, they're going to grow up this yield. You can choose to harvest early, which will get you less of a yield. But I mean, if you're having a really rough time and you need food now, there you go. The same with orchards, except they take a while to grow in the trees. And then once the trees are grown in, and they're harvesting that now. They just finished it up because we're turning winter. But once the trees are grown in, the fruit will grow every year. So you don't have to, you know, wait for the trees to grow every time. So now that it's winter, nothing's going to be growing in my fields. And this is where micromanagement becomes kind of a pain. So it'd be best for me to turn off all my farmers and put them all into doing something else, like mining. And I'm going to be doing that every single winter. And that can be a bit of a frustration. Everyone's freezing to death. This town is on the edge of collapse. It would be very nice. What's this? My resource limit has been reached. Let's just up that a little bit. And these resource limits, you need to up them, because what they start at are ridiculously low for what you're actually going to want. Yeah, this is my basic thoughts on Banished. I mean, it's a fun game. I just think it's important to know what you're getting into. It is much less a city builder and far more... Oh, tools are low again. And far more a survival simulator that is fairly click intensive, fairly micromanagement heavy. I feel like if you know that going in, and that's something you enjoy, you will love this game. It is fun. I've enjoyed it. I know personally I won't be playing it too terribly much longer. But those are basically my thoughts on Banished. I hope that you got some value out of this video. In the comments down below, let me know what you think of the game. Let me know what you think I got right in this review. Let me know what you think I'm just wildly full of crap on. And also, let me know what games you'd like to see reviewed in the future. Leaving a like really helps me out, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, don't get banished from your town.